the review of Chapter 4. So again, the board is clear. We have our reigning champions, but we're going to see if the other team can earn the bonus points for our second test. So we're going to be starting off with that review. Now, guys, sir. Oh, you guys keep a hold of it in case you win it. But when we do how do I want to put this? We're going to be doing our next competitions based on 2 out of 3 again. So if you guys win the next 2, you're keeping it again anyway. So unless you lose the first 2 of these, you can maintain that valuable item in your possession. I'm glad somebody is. He needs taken care of. What's his name? I love it. Marlon the HR wizard. It's so it shall be done. But we're going to be doing that review, and then we're going to be starting Chapter 5. Guys, we got to cover a couple things, so please bear with me for a minute. Friday, remember, guys, Friday we have mentorship day, so we're not going to be meeting as a class. By show of hands, who here has signed up for a session? If you have not signed up for a session, do so. If you're traveling for competitions, see me. We will accommodate. Guys, a couple things I also have to check in on. Next week, next Tuesday, this is my list of volunteers for next Tuesday. I have Richard and Raymond are going to be traveling with me, and who else? Connor are going to be traveling with me. And who else do we have on this list? Jonas, you're going to be helping me prepare content. So guys, what I will be doing by Friday, I will have content for you guys, and we'll need to have it prepared for Monday, anybody who's traveling with me. Now, the folks who were not able to travel on the last trip, that would have been Corey, Jojo, and Christian. Are you guys able to do this Thursday? Oh, it was Avery? Okay, that's right. Jojo, you were on the last trip. What am I thinking? Avery. Are you guys available for that this Thursday? I never heard back from you guys. Not going to happen? All right, we'll get you on another session then. Any questions about the volunteering stuff, guys, before we continue? I'll have a presentation for those who are volunteering next week in email, and I'll be giving you instructions how we're going to meet up and get that content revised. We all good? Okay. Guys, I'm going to ask for a volunteer to be scorekeeper again for our rounds of competition here. Corey, you're going to be our guy? All right. And I got to get you a marker so you can keep score for us up here. I don't have one. So let me grab one, and we're going to get this started in just a moment. Guys, just a reminder before we get started with our review. Guys, a reminder before we get started with our review. Your next assignment, I'm asking you to do a job analysis. Tell me how you're going to do a job analysis. This is due on the 28th. We did a walkthrough of this on Friday, and the recording is up. I'm asking you to tell me how you conduct a job analysis. We'll cover this in depth again on, on Monday, because if we've got 28th, the 28th is Monday, isn't it? So this is due Monday at midnight. I'm asking you to tell me how you would do a job analysis for a job that I have posted in the Chapter 4 assignment on campus. What are some things that you would do if you were trying to figure out how somebody was doing the job? How a job is being conducted? How could you determine that? I'm sorry? Yeah, you can watch them do the job. What else could you have the employee do? Do what? They could write a journal, they could do reports, they could do surveys. What existing documentation might you already have in hand to tell you what this person might already do? You'd have a job description. Absolutely correct. How should you let this person know that you're going to be doing a job analysis? Should you spring it on, or should you do it ahead of time? Why? Exactly correct. And the Government Resource ONET, which is out of the Department of Labor, may also help you in terms of determining what this person should be paid and how the job itself should actually be done. I am asking you to tell me how you would do this procedure. You don't have to create a new job description. You don't have to create a new job specification. I'm asking you to tell me how you would do this. If you want to use graphics and create a flow chart, you can do that as well. Use the stuff in your text and the slides to guide you in this process. Do you have any questions? 1 to 3 pages. 1 page is great. That being said, guys, we're going to jump in and go ahead and start a review. So, Corey, you're our scorekeeper. And that means you just earned a bonus point just for doing this. So, our 2 teams, guys, we're going to have to decide who gets to go first. And I'm thinking of a random number between 1 and 20. And I'm going to ask you to see what number I have picked. So, team to my left, what number am I thinking? So we got 11. Team to my right, what number am I thinking of? I'm sorry? So the closer to 7 is 10. So the team closest to me goes. All right, guys, that's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, team closest to me. Effort directed toward producing or accomplishing results. Is that a job? Is that work, a task, or workflow analysis? What do you think, Team 1? B is correct. All right, Team 2. A grouping of tasks, duties, and responsibilities that constitutes the total work assignment for an employee. What is that? Say it loud. We got a job. 1 point for each team. Team 1, organizing tasks, duties, responsibilities, and other elements into a productive unit of work. Is that job design, job redesign, ergonomics, or workflow analysis? A is correct. Which of the following types, Team 2, of employees is most likely to cost the company the most money? Independent contractors, part-time employees, contingent workers, or full-time employees? What do you think, guys? D is correct. Team 1, true or false? Giving an individual more tasks and responsibility can improve their job satisfaction. Is that true or false? It is true. Team 2, this is a bonus question. What was the automated burger robot's name? Flippy is correct. Yep. Bonus question for Team 1. What's another term for a restaurant doing online orders only? Talked about this earlier this semester. Say it loud. It is a ghost restaurant. It's perfect for this time of year too, by the way. The process of shifting a person from one job to another job, Team 2, is that multitasking, redundancy, job rotation, or job enlargement? C is correct. Team 1, all the following are characteristics a manager can control except what? Is it tasks, honesty, tools, or variety? What do you say, guys? Honesty is correct. Matching characteristics of people with characteristics of jobs. Is that psychological profiling, hierarchy of needs, task significance, or person-job fit? What do you think? I think you're correct. All right, Team 1. Jill works in the hospital as a nurse. She realizes the quality of her work will affect others, and she takes her work seriously. She experiences high what? Is it task identity, task significance, task integrity, or task meaning? Think about the terms we have seen. Team 1. So we have task integrity. That's incorrect. It's task significance. All right. Team 2. Billy Bob works in a car plant. He builds the same axle assembly every day and never sees a finished car. He likely experiences low is a task identity, task significance, task integrity, or task meaning. So what's our guess, guys? What's it going to be, guys? You say you're going with C? Well, too bad because it was task A. All right. True or false, Team 1, the best way to perform a job assessment is to spring it on your employees with no notice. That is false. Nobody likes that. All right, team 2. All the following are psychological states in the job characteristics model except. Is it meaningfulness, responsibility, knowledge of results, or feedback? Take a guess, guys. What's your guess, guys? Come on, guys, give me an answer. So you going with what? C? Too bad it was D. Guys, Peter on team 1. Peter works 3 12-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days. Which best describes his arrangement? Is it shift work, job sharing, compressed work week, or a part-time schedule? C is correct. All right, team 2. A blank is a distinct, identifiable work activity comprised of motions. Is that a responsibility, a task, a duty, or a job? Think about what you can quantify. What's your answer, guys? First guess is probably right. B is right. All right, true or false? Typing 30 words per minute would be an example of a behavioral competency. It's team 1. What's your answer? That is correct. It's a technical competency. All right, team 2. The government resource that helps employers with job analysis. Is it ANET, JNET, ONET, or ZNET? ONET. Yes, it is. All right, team 1. We are reviewing a job description for an administrative assistant. Which of the following would probably be considered a marginal job function? Typing 50 words per minute, organizing file folders, picking up lunch for office meetings, or answering telephones. Which one would likely be a smaller part of the job? I would say C as well. And the reason for putting that on there, guys, if you had somebody who had limited mobility, somebody who could not drive a car, they could still do the main job of an office assistant. True or false, team 2? A job specification identifies the tasks, duties, and responsibilities of a job. This is a tough question. True or false? What's your answer, guys? What's your final answer? I know I'm confusing you. Correct. All right, guys. How did our tallies come out, Corey?
Left side 1 by 1.
1 point. You guys are still our reigning champions. Like this left, or this left? This. Okay, so guys.
No.
This left. All right. So guys, you're holding on to the trophy for now. Thank you for playing. Guys, we're going to get into our content for the day. Before we do, though, any comments or questions so far, guys? Guys, we're going to start off by talking about recruiting and retaining employees. What makes people happy in the workplace? We're going to talk about motivation, for example. When you guys think about the best or worst jobs you've ever had, what are the things that made them great or terrible? What motivates you guys? If you go to a great class, actually, I'd like to hear from you guys on this. If you go to a class that you regard as a great class, what motivates you to do well in that class? Yes. So if it's not an exciting environment, that doesn't motivate people. What else motivates you to do well in a class? Yes. Yeah, with other people we have something in common with. What else motivates you guys? What motivates you to do well in a class? Yes.
You just want to do well for yourself. Just pride.
Intrinsic motivation, right? So guys, all that kind of stuff makes people great. And if we know how to motivate people, we can retain people. If we can retain people, we can have successful companies. I'm going to tell you a horror story about a company that did not know how to retain or treat people. And that company is called BlackBerry. These guys are one of the industry case studies of how a company can completely screw up. They started back in the 90s. They were one of the first smartphones to hit the market. And the reason they got so popular was because back then, Cellular was not what we experience today. Cellular was not good. Pagers, however, worked really well. If anybody knows somebody or ever see somebody who has a pager, a few of them are still floating around. You can have the crappiest cellular in the world and they'll still work. We started doing email and paging systems through BlackBerry, and so they technically were the first email systems that were available on phones to any big degree. They had what we refer to as a proprietary email system, and it was viewed as very secure and safe. And so government loved BlackBerry. These guys owned the market. Guys, look at this market share. In 2008, these guys owned over half the market. As of today, you can't even track their market share globally. It's that low. So you may be asking yourself, what happened? Well, we can blame the tech for part of it. When Apple's iPhone came out in 2008, it was brand new, but it was doing things that BlackBerry couldn't. It was games, it was music, it was media, it was appealing to a younger generation. Most people who had smartphones back in that time either worked for the government or some kind of business. You didn't see children or teenagers, for the most part, with BlackBerrys because they just weren't that much fun. Well, it's not that the people on BlackBerry did not have good ideas. There were all kinds of people who had good ideas for what to do with the product, but they lost sight of their customers. The administration, by the way, the company that owns BlackBerry is actually Canadian, called Research in Motion, RIM. And they lost sight of who their customers were. They thought they could just ride on government business for the rest of their lives. Nobody would care. The people who were at the bottom of the food chain, even if they had ideas, couldn't get them through the system because the people up top would not listen. They got listed as having the worst corporate culture in the world in terms of being people who would not listen to their own employees or allow people to have other ideas. These are things that actually happened, guys. When BlackBerry was starting to go down the tubes, two of their managers were on a flight and got so drunk they had to be restrained. These guys literally were restrained with, you see the plastic tie things, the zip ties they use for violent offenders. After they had been hassling the flight crew, they restrained these folks, and they were chewing through their restraints to try to get out because they wanted another drink. They actually had to land a plane because these folks were being so disruptive to other customers. Each one of these folks got fined $72,000 and fired. Guys, this is the leadership of the company we're talking about here. This isn't a couple of guys who went out to Vegas and had too much to drink. These are the people who were running the company. So when you're leading by example, you literally can throw it all away. Could this company have changed course? I don't know. I don't know if the systems in there, in terms of retaining people, were so stratified that nobody could get taken out. Could the company make a comeback? They sort of are. The company got bought out for a fraction of their official or their original valuation. And at this point in time, they're making software now. They're not even making hardware anymore. They're doing back-end software for security and other companies. But that's how bad you can fumble the ball if you don't know your customers and you don't listen to the people inside your company. If you don't listen to them, you won't retain them. Guys, in 2008, why might have some of these folks still stayed with the company even though it was going this far awry? The economy sucked, and so they were able to hold on to the staff until the economy improved. Guys, any one of you in this room with a bachelor's degree and good grades and experience, if you got mistreated by where you were working, what are you likely to do now? You're going to go somewhere else because you can, because we got 4% unemployment. Recruiting and retaining in that period of time was easy. It's not easy now. We're going to talk about what motivates people and how we build bonds with people in the office, how we build that psychological contract. We're also going to talk about what makes people happy at work. What makes one person happy at work may be completely different to somebody else. I'm going to do an informal poll here to prove my point. Who here likes to have a steady routine every day where everything happens at the same time every day? I'm one of those people, man. I like routine. How many people hate routine and like spontaneity? Different things motivate us because we're wired differently. You got to realize that about your employees too. Different things that make people happy are different between people. And there's a difference between somebody who's happy and somebody who's engaged. Guys, when people don't like their job, actually it was funny. I quoted this in my 203 class, and I apologize for repeating myself. I just think it's a great quote. Homer Simpson, the great management philosopher Homer Simpson once said, Lisa, to his daughter, when you don't like your job, you don't skip work. You just go into your job and do it really half-assed. And that's a Homer Simpson quote. But what the point is, people do show up for work, and we have presenteeism and absenteeism. Presenteeism is arguably worse than absenteeism because you think that people are there to work. In reality, they've checked out. And how do we control absenteeism? How do we control turnover? And here's a question for you too, though, guys. When we start talking about turnover, is turnover in a company a good or a bad thing? What do you think? It depends. Tell me more.
Well, like one of our coaches on our team had the same. He always says, "Change the people, change the people." So, like, if they're not doing what's right, you have to change the people. But if they're getting better, like if they're doing what's right, then they change. Yeah.
I love that slogan. I'm going to steal it. That's a great point. So turnover can be bad if you're losing good performers. If all your top talent in your company is walking out the door, you got to question, what are we doing wrong here? On the same token, sometimes a little bit of turnover is great. There's a great expression. I saw it on somebody's door one time. We are always happy to see people. Some we're happy to see come, some we're happy to see go. And it works that way in companies too. Turnover can be a good thing as well, but you want to be able to control it so you're keeping your good talent. In terms of job assessment and motivation too, guys, we talked about how we're doing job assessment and job analysis in the last chapter. I put this up as a joke for anybody who's seen the movie Office Space. But it comes down to the idea that if somebody's doing a poor job, it does not necessarily mean they're a bad employee. As we learned in the last chapter, it could be a poorly designed job. It could be other factors going into this. There are lots of ways that we determine how well somebody's going to do at work. Some of it's just natural ability. Is somebody wired for this job? Does somebody have the right education? Are they working hard at this job? There's some people, you know them and I know them, people. We know folks who are really good, who are smart, who could do a great job, but they just don't care. They're just not that motivated. Some people, however, maybe aren't the top performers, but they work really hard. And that can be good in an organization too. What is your organization doing to support people and be better performers? For example, if I go to Dr. Fry and say, Dr. Fry, I need a wireless mouse to do my job so I can run the classroom, which I think I do need a wireless mouse. I guarantee he'd give me $50 to get a wireless mouse. That would motivate me because I can teach in the way I want to. Organizational support can also mean training. It can mean enrichment. It can mean showing the employee that you care. And this is some metrics or some equations that our text likes to throw out, is essentially that a person's individual performance is based on their ability times their effort times the support they're getting from the organization. I think that's a bit gimmicky, but I think it's true. Guys, think about this. This morning I had to go over to Sullivan to teach because they took my classroom for a guest speaker. I was happy to do that because it was good for the School of Business. Well, I went over there. How many of you have had classes in Sullivan? If you want to appreciate this building, go over to Sullivan and take a class. The computers are slow. The projectors don't look good. It's not a fun place to teach. The rooms don't look nice like they look over here. So I appreciate the fact I get that support to do my job. And I think if you give people resources, it makes them better. So what makes somebody a good performer or not? I know this is a little hard to see, but we've got up here, what's their effort? How motivated are they? Do they have a good work ethic? Are they showing up? Are they actually showing up for work? Our individual ability. Do I have a good skill? Do I have a degree? Do I have something that makes me personally a good fit for the position? And is my organization supporting me? Are they giving me the tools I need? And this comes into the idea of individual performance. Now, right in here, guys, job design. Our last chapter on job analysis comes down to the fact that we can only work to the level. Even if you have somebody who's a great employee, if the system will not allow them to exceed, if the system is not set up in such a way where they can do their best work, you're never going to get the best effort out of them. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So, guys, here's my question in terms of motivation. I think it's interesting because everybody's got a different level of motivation. And we got a couple of theories on this. We'll talk about those in a minute. But when we think about what motivates us, you're going to have some people, guys, who no matter what are going to want to succeed. You're going to have some people who are going to say, you know what, I'm going to give 200% every day I come to the office because it's how I'm wired. You could stick them in the crappiest job in the world where they're working for the worst managed fast food place on earth, or put them in a Fortune 500 company, and they're still going to perform the best they can because that's the way they're wired. Some people aren't. Some people need to be pulled along for everything. I want you to put this into your brain though too. Not everybody has to be a great performer. You can have a well-run organization. If everybody were a top-notch performer in your organization, then theoretically nobody's really an overachiever. Everybody's an overachiever. The rank and file, people who do a lot of the basic work of the organization, if their motivation is to come in and work 40 hours, and they're going to give you a good 40 hours and that's it, that might be okay. It all depends on what your organization is set up for and how you're set up. So we have two theories, guys. Who here has ever heard of Maslow and Hertzberg? Have you had Management 101? Yeah, Maslow and Hertzberg. The question is, what motivates people? So the need theory is Maslow's theory, and it basically means that we start off with lower level needs, and as we work up, we reach self-actualization. Let me give you a comparison. Okay, I'm out of college. First year out, I got car payment, I got light bills to pay, I got a student loan payment. I'm probably going to take any job I can get, so I'm making my bills. What is my motivating factor at that point? Money. Because I got to survive. I got to eat. I got to pay the bills. Now, if you get somebody, for example, on the other end of the spectrum, let's say Bill Gates. By the way, does anybody know how much Bill Gates makes? How much he makes a second? He makes about $22,000 a minute just for being alive. Is Bill Gates going to be motivated to leave Microsoft because somebody's offering him a pay raise? When you have more money than God, it's no longer a motivator. That is the other end. And so you have, what's that? Crazy, isn't it? So technically, if Bill Gates is on the way to a meeting and he sees $100 or $500 sitting on the ground, he's actually wasting money by stopping to pick up $500. It's a better economic decision for him to let somebody else grab it. Those folks are not going to motivate in the same way as the person who is starving. What that also means is that we have different ways at work to motivate them as well. So that we refer to that as need theory. Now, Hertzberg broke it down differently. He said basically that you reach a plateau, and he kind of divided them into two factors, and he said that there are motivators and what he referred to as hygiene factors. Now, hygiene factor sounds like, wow, somebody's got some BO, we got to deal with that in the office. He doesn't mean that at all, although the most awkward conversation I ever had with an employee was involved with that. I'll tell you about that story at some point. Hygiene factors don't make you happy, but they make you unhappy if they're absent. His theory is that money is a hygiene factor. It means that nobody really gets giddy over money, but if the money drops or they're not getting enough, it makes them less happy. Let's show you how these two theories stack up. So we got Maslow, who is basically saying if you start off at the bottom, then you work out with basic psychological or physiological needs. Basically, you got to pay for your food, your shelter, your safety and security. Finally, we hit this point where we have belonging and love in our lives. It means you have a good family. It means you have somebody special in your life. That gets us into self-esteem. And once you satisfy all these things, you become self-actualized. That means you become the best human that you can become. We compare that to Hertzberg. Hertzberg split it into two areas. He basically said that you've got belonging, love, safety, and security. Basic physiological needs are all hygiene factors. If they're not here, you feel unhappy, but they don't make you incredibly happy when they're here. The two factors basically get us up to self-actualization and esteem are the motivators. Does that make sense how we split those up? What do you think? Do you agree with this statement, by the way? Do you think that's the only way we can reach self-actualization? What are your thoughts? A Buddhist might feel differently. A Buddhist might say if you don't have anything, that's when you're most motivated. You can find nirvana by finding yourself. I tend to think there's a lot of sense in this. Let's think about this again, guys. The person who is at the beginning or middle of their career, in addition to not having money, what else is different about somebody at the beginning of their career as opposed to later in their career? Definitely experience, and what else? I'm thinking about a difference between you guys and me. You better believe it. And so, people at the beginning of these things, younger people tend to need this stuff first before they get into this. Any questions so far? I think it's interesting. Just remember that term, guys. A hygiene factor is something that won't inherently make you happy, but will make you unhappy in its absence. Remember that. Guys, before we move into these other theories, because we have another 10 minutes together, I'd like to stop for a second just to take a question. Question or comment? About anything, guys. Yes.
You could be an animal, no choice. Which animal?
I've never been asked that question before. I need to think about it for a second. If I could be any animal. Wow. You know, I've always thought it would be amazing to fly. So I think like being an eagle or a hawk or a falcon or something would be awesome just to see the world from that perspective. And if I really looked at it the other direction, being a giant tortoise would be okay too because you live forever. You live to be like 200 years old. Of course, there's no quality of life there. You just walk around eating leaves and not really doing much of anything. But yeah, what would you be?
I would like to be an eagle too, or something that flies.
Yeah, the flight is amazing. Here's a little factoid for you about the golden eagle. The golden eagle, when golden eagles get together to make more golden eagles, they mate in midair. And the golden eagles have to finish the act before they crash on the ground and die. So two golden eagles, they talk about pressure, right? So two golden eagles, when they get together to make more golden eagles, they do it in midair, and if they don't complete the act by the time they hit the ground, they're both dead. How about that? That's one part of being able that wouldn't be so much fun. So, praying mantises have it worse, though. Do you guys know what happens after praying mantises make more praying mantises? Yeah, if anybody's not heard this before, after a male and female praying mantis make other praying mantises, the female cuts off the male's head and eats him. So, if you're a male in this room, don't wish to be reincarnated as a praying mantis. It doesn't work out well at all. Good question. One more question, guys. Anything else? It's not animal related. Yes?
My dad is going through an interview process right now, and they made him take a personality test.
Yes.
And he asked me if that was legal, but he said on there were questions that he thought were really strange. Like they asked him his age and nationality.
You know, it was funny. We were talking about that right after our Management 203 class day, and I was thinking some more about that. Technically, you cannot evaluate somebody's employment decision based on their race, their age, their ethnicity. Now, what they may have labeled those questions is that they were for demographic purposes only, for EEO compliance. You can get away with that. But if they're making hiring decisions based on it, they could be getting in some sticky territory. Now, personality profiling is a big thing these days. A lot of companies are doing it because they want to find out if somebody's personality is right for the company. Google's a big one who does it. Sheets actually does it. A lot of other companies. Anybody here ever taken a personality profile test? Like the Myers-Briggs or something like that? We're going to do that in this class, too, to give you an idea how that works and why companies do it. That's a great question, by the way. All right. Guys, we're going to keep going. We have something that we refer to as expectancy theory, and that basically means that people expect if they behave in a certain way that they will be treated in another way. So I could expect, for example, if I work hard at St. Francis and I do a good job as a professor, that I might get my promotions, I might get a raise. And if the raises and rewards are based on those ideas, if they're put back to me in the way that I expect them to be, then I'm okay. On the flip side, if I work for a company and I don't expect I'm going to get a raise, no matter how hard I work, then I don't have an unreasonable expectation. So the bottom line is if you feel that your effort will lead to good things, and you have a connection between your effort and good performance and being rewarded, you're more likely to work hard, particularly if you value what's being awarded. Let me give you an example of how sometimes that doesn't work out. Let's say Becky and I work for the same company, and we are both working really, really hard. Becky really exceeds expectations, and she gets top performer award. So she gets a 4% raise. I work about half as hard as Becky does, but I still work enough to get a raise to it, and I get a 3% raise. Becky, how do you feel about your 4% raise? Yeah, there's no significant difference in the amount of award or reward, I should say, that we earn, even though you worked way harder than I did. And so that's something that also factors into this equation as well. So in terms of how this stuff works, the expectancy model of motivation, what it means here is that I expect, if I work harder, I'm going to get higher performance, and I expect that higher performance is going to lead to rewards. The value of what I ultimately get comes back and reinforces my behavior. So after I've got the 3% raise for being kind of half as good as Becky, and Becky just got a 4% raise for being way better than me, how's your effort going to be before the next performance evaluation? Probably. You're going to look at Tonkin has set the bar very low. We're just going to meet his bar from now on. So in effect, you've demotivated a good performer by giving somebody else a near equivalent reward. By the way, guys, that's one of the reasons I kind of think that cost of living adjustments and annual raises are a bad idea. Actually, let me ask you your opinion on that, because we see it a lot in union shops, but you also see it in non-union shops as well, where every year, everybody who works there, if the company is doing well, gets a raise. And it's all the same amount. How do you feel about that? Is that fair or not? What do you think? Let's say, let me draw an example to you guys. I give you two scenarios. One scenario would be you do the best individual work you can in this class, and you can earn up to an A. Or I'll just say I'm going to average everybody's grade and give everybody the same grade that the whole class earned. Which appeals to you more and why? Richard. And so you view the value of the individual, somebody, I want to get what I can possibly earn out of this. Anybody else have any? It's not a fair analogy necessarily, because there are some classes that are harder than others. For example, the statistics class that I took for my most recent college program, if I'd given the option of sharing in the class's grade versus dealing with my grade individually, sharing the class's grade might have sounded pretty good. But the idea being that it really does not motivate the individual. So that being said, guys, we also have something called equity theory. And that means that we believe we're being treated fairly at work. So expectancy theory means I believe that if I work harder, I'll get ahead. Equity theory means I'm being treated fairly. If I look around me, everybody's being compared in the same way. So let's say, for example, if Lucia and I both work for the same company, and we both exert the same amount of effort. When we get our performance evaluations, I get a way better evaluation than she did, even though I wasn't working any harder than she was. How does that, Lucia, how would that make you feel? Yes. Yeah, I've not been treated fairly. So what might be your response at that point? And you might ultimately leave the company if it doesn't get remedied, because why would you work someplace you're not being treated fairly? And so the idea of equity means that I believe I'm being treated as fairly as everybody else who's working in this situation. So the things that motivate people, guys, I want you to look at what's up on the screen and tell me if you see something missing. What do you not see up there in terms of motivating people on the job? Yeah, we don't see money up there. Most of the popular literature and research suggests that money is not a good long-term motivator. They say basically money might get you some better commitment from an employee in the short term, but once you reach that self-actualization, once you're paying your bills, it's not about the money anymore. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? Do you think money could be a motivator? Corey, you think you're down your head yes. Why do you say yes?
I agree with the theory, but I think, like you said, short term, it definitely can be a motivator. Because I feel like once you have money, you forget what not having money is. So it doesn't. It's like not the same. Like, I really don't need this. I'd rather just be happy. So I think that's enough.
So it's a question of how much money you have, if you're going to be motivated or not. Do you agree? So, and I think there's. Go ahead.
Also, like, if you have two great companies and they both give you a job offer, you're going to go.
So it could be a differentiator, but in the long run, it might not be a motivator. Yes.
I think it could work the fact too if you grab the job, like if you don't have kids when you first start working, then you have kids, like obviously money is going to be a bigger issue once you have your family grows.
These darn kids keep eating and eating and eating and eating stuff. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Guys, here's what I'll say about it. I think there are certain professions where people who are motivated by money end up. Where do they end up? I'm sorry?
I say
Yeah, for sure in business. What particular part of business? I think it's people who make commissions. Sales. Salespeople are very financially motivated. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. If somebody tells me they're motivated by money, I don't have a problem with that. What motivates you is what motivates you. Most of the literature says that it's not a motivator. I would argue back in certain professions it can be a motivator. And even if it doesn't motivate, it can motivate our decisions between who we're going to work for. And guys, with that, we're not meeting on Friday, so make sure you signed up for a session. I will see you at Mentorship Day on Friday. Enjoy. Oh, guys, I put this out on email, and if you didn't get this, let me just also put this out, guys.